The first thing is that the fish is back. Sometimes other fish can be caught almost any place, almost anything, almost any method. Another fish is back. If you and I expect to catch more and bigger fish, we must spend our time where we have the best chance to catch fish. Now we come down to the fishing guideline. I changed it instead of fact, I made it fishing, and this is a fishing guideline. If you and I expect to catch more and bigger fish consistently, we must be at the right place at the right time, fishing in the right manner. The right place is where the fish are. The right time is when they are there. The right manner is right on the money. And we must keep this in mind. It isn't difficult, but one of the things that I can do on this guideline is to try to find where they are and what we do and what they look like and how we present lures in the right manner. I'm going to move along pretty fast on this one. This is a very difficult subject to put together. And so I'm going to tell you what it is. I have people all the time calling me and saying, every time I go to the lake or a pond, it's different. It looks different. Now, it is going to be different. The weather is never going to be the same. The light is going to be the same. The water color may not be the same. The trees may not be green leaves. It may be red, or the trees is completely different. The traffic is going to be different. Now, in this case, when they say that, I just say, well, you've been lost. You've never kept your eyes open. You don't know where you are. Now, how are you going to be at the right place at the right time if you don't know where you are? Keep your eyes open. So what we're going to do, the next thing, for the last 2 or 3 years, I've been talking about structure situations and interpretation of those structures, those structure situations. You think that I'm going to repeat myself a bit. Now, I'm going to try to put this thing to bed right now. I'm going to approach this thing in one more area. And that is this map. Now you notice that I'm still working on this thing, and is don't get lost and keep your eyes open. The same thing. The word map, mappa, is an old Latin word that meant cloth. The map in this book, all the maps that were made many back in the early Latin period was made from cloth, all the maps. Now, a little later on, they added another word to this. They said mappa, munda. Now, what this meant was a small cloth. Now, that's where our word napkin came from way back there. So what mapping is this? Is to make a picture, make a drawing. We're going to map it to find out what is there, and then we're going to draw a picture. Now this is a fine way for you to understand and don't get lost and by keeping your eyes open. But in the actual making of the map, you're going to put this thing in your head that you'll never be lost again in that particular area. If I found myself lost anywhere in the United States or anywhere else for an hour, I go start raving mad. So you must keep your eyes open. The reasons for mapping. It's to find and understand, draw, and everything, the structure situation that the fish use, the bottom features the fish use in their movements and migrations. I put this up with one sentence. Just about the time you think there's no deep water in your rope, you suddenly come upon a hole that drops to 15 feet. You take good shoreline signs and mark the spot. Your published contour map did not show such a feature. Now I'm going to talk a little bit more about contour map. They are made. We're going to come to it in just a minute. They are, to me, it is something that you got to take a little drink of water with it. In other words, you cannot say that this is the gospel truth. And most of them are going to be off. Now, even if it did show such a feature, it didn't interpret it for you. It does no interpretation. That's up to you. And so that's the reason we come into the map, to draw the figure. And this will separate you men from the boys in a long period of time. Here's what I think is mapping. And this is gospel truth as far as I'm concerned. To truly learn what exists in our fishing waters. To truly learn where to concentrate our fishing efforts. To truly learn proper presentation of lures. Now you think about that sometime. To truly learn proper presentation of lures. When you get that mental picture, when you get that map, you're going to see where you're going to have to be right on the money. But you won't know that until you draw it and interpret what it says. You've seen this before. Mapping is key to interpretation. Interpretation is the key to success. Those two things is really the whole ball of wax. Now, I did not say interpretation is the key to mapping. I said mapping is the key to interpretation. And interpretation is the key to success. So when you get through, we're going to find that it's very, very important that you map. We have a few guys in here that are mapping and have been mapping for the last 2 or 3 and it's uncanny how they've improved in their fishing. We're going to separate natural lakes from reservoirs artificially. The natural lake is pretty well cut and dried what's there. You're going to have holes, you're going to have bars, you're going to have shallows, you're going to have flats, but in the structure situation, it's pretty well cut and dried what you're going to find there. And they are such so that you can map one of these rascals pretty quick. But to really learn mapping and to really learn, your teacher is the reservoir. And those you fellows that have fished reservoirs versus lakes, you're going to find that this is true. You can put a lake, a natural lake, in your pocket pretty quick. But when it comes to reservoirs, let me look at that lake again. There's a lake with weeds. Now you just look. You can just look at that thing and just about interpret the whole lake. Let me see if I can get this gadget working. There's a deep hole. See the weed line? Back in here is a deep water. This is kind of shallow in here, and then it might be that it drops off and gets deeper because watch the weed line. There's a little bar out there, but this is deep water. Now, at first glance, that's a long pointed bar. Here's some short bars. You have some rounded bars. But at first glance, you may think that this is a saddle. But it could be now. You got some deep water here because you see the weed line starts dropping back. It starts dropping back here, and it's all deep back in here. And it could be that deep water goes right across there, or it could be that that is a saddle with a hump in the middle with weeds on it. Here we got a deep hole. Here's deep water with what look like a saddle across that. You got the bars here. But when you look at this whole little lake, the structure situations are very many. And you don't have too much trouble of determining from just looking at what's there. But you'd have to get in here and map this out. You'd have to map that hump. You'd have to map this thing to find the exact what this thing is, what it looks like. And you want to put it down on paper. Here is your teacher. There's so many different ones, so many structured situations that are so different. You may have 10 in one. In another reservoir, you may have 17 different reservoirs. There's so many of them that I broke them up into 3 categories: highs, lows, and the flatlands. There's so much in those things that you could just see. This is your teacher. Most of the time in natural lakes, you're going to have a watercolor that's pretty stable all over. But not so in reservoirs. In reservoirs, the other day I was checking a lake in Carolina. I went 10 miles before I found any watercolor. But it was there. And in most reservoirs, if you keep your eyeballs open and do a little method, so to speak, and I'll take it up a little later, you must look, the number 1 priority to look for is watercolor. Before I go on, he just got through talking, Frank just got through talking about home fish. You must keep this in mind. The home of the fish, where it spends the majority of the time, a sanctuary from a hostile environment, is deep water. Now you can't do any mapping and interpretation until you burn that thing in your mind. Very simple, in natural lakes, it's holes and slots. Now your interpretation doesn't start up yonder at the shore, up those pines. Your mapping and your fishing may start up there. But your interpretation starts in the holes or slots. And some of them have slots. Then it breaks off and there might be another one up in there. Here's a hole. Now your interpretation starts there. A lot of people try to interpret the constructive situation by starting in the shallow. No, it's just a key. In other words, it's going to lead you to your above water observation is very, very important to tell you what's below. A lot of people can't visualize because they don't see. They don't keep their eyes open. In reservoirs, very simple. The channels, the home of the fish. Spends a greater part of his time. The reservoir. That's when you get through mapping this rascal here, you're going to learn something. But it's simple, for the simple reason that there's a channel. I'll find this button. Here's the channel going up through there. There's a little wash coming through here, so you're going to have to look at that. I've talked enough about this. Here's the feeder cut coming in here, and it goes out across that flat. But you keep in mind, if you're in a reservoir, my interpretation, the fish start, in my interpretation, in the channel. Now, it doesn't make any difference if it's 300 feet deep. Your interpretation starts there. The fish may never be down there, but that's the key. That sound is the key to where the migration route is, if it's there. It's so much in looking at your above water observation to see where your structural situations are. So very important. Now, a lot of people, they just stay lost. They just don't seem to be able to see what's there. Now, here's this little wide, big old flatland. It's a flood control dam. It's about 50 or 60 years old. Now, when I went up and drove the road around the lake and looking, I saw this thing. I saw some trees that most of them was rotted off, all back in here. They were rotted off and falling on the top. But then I saw saw some big tall trees right there, and I saw some other tall trees back in there. Now that told me something. So keep your eyeball on that little forked tree right there. When I got in there and saw this, I knew exactly where I had to start my interpretation. There is the same tree. There's the channel. It goes over here, swings around through here, goes out through here, by those other tall trees, goes down to the other. This is doing that type of a thing, is you don't want to be fishing back in here. The interpretation is that the fish started from here. The route has to start from here. Most people, a lot of people, have been mapping. Now, I see the word mapping up there. When mapping the body of water or productive structure, they often fail to distinguish between potential and good structure and structure that will never produce. Same old thing that we've talked over time and time again. And you map it and put it down. When you start mapping, you're going to see whether I'm wasting my time fishing this particular area because we have a guideline. The guideline, the path that he follows, must go all the way. Look at figure B. It goes all the way. This up here is dead issue. Now another thing, that right there, a lot of people don't realize that if that was sitting in a mound or a slope, that it's not flat. It is a flat. It can be straight up in the air and still flat. There's nothing for the fish to see the weight. We start here. I'm going to come back to this again on the interpretation when you're doing your mapping. Here's where it starts. This structure, when he hits there, must go all the way. Now, if it stops anywhere, it's not solved. It's not a structural situation. You don't spend any more time there. You just walk away from it. Get away. This is the channel. See the flat. You could come up through here, you don't see anything. You can see coming up this thing, and here, see, you don't see anything. It's flat. Then you come up here, and you start, oh wait a minute. There's a little stream of water coming out here. This is a feeder gut. This has to be back because that's a structure situation up there related to this channel. When I go on the lake, you've heard me say, and I think even Frank said something about it one time, give me 4 days on the lake and I'll put that lake in my back pocket. And I've traveled the United States for years, for 30, 40 years, fished most every state, and most of it all the water. And I've never seen one if I spent 4 days on the lake itself. And I could put that thing on my pocket, and then I'm ready to go. The newspaper says, bang, bang, come on, I want to show you something. I did one of the first things I did when I came to that reservoir was to go all the way around it. I take all the roads. I look at everything. I look at this. Is that a causeway? I look over. I take all the little roads all the way around this thing. It may be Jack Weber will tell you, in mapping out west, he told me to spend a day and a half on one reservoir before I said where I would fish. Now the reason for it is I was looking for structure situation and possibility for the structure situation. I was looking for watercolor, my number one thing. I was looking for whether the percent was correct. Was it weedy? Was it brushy? Was it anything? All kinds of things. Was the traffic too heavy? And when I got through with observation, just by looking and going around it, I had eliminated maybe 2/3 of the reservoir. That means I already found in that by looking above the water observation, I had decided where I was going to fish. maybe it's 10 miles long or 20 miles long. And I was down to a mile, 2 miles away. My mom above water, I could see evidence that there was a bar there or some other situation. And then, the first day I had eliminated in working this area, I had done my mapping now after I got on the water. The first day I eliminated this thing down to maybe up where I had on 4 or 5 situation. Now, by the third day, I brought it down to maybe 2 or 3. Now, by the fourth day, I was down to the best 1 and 2. Then I was ready to say, come on, I want to show you something. There was no guesswork. I had done my homework. And I'm going to tell you a little story. I can tell you stories that happened. The one in the United States together on this. When I get on the water, I'm going to keep my eyes open after I've gone around. I go into the area that I pick. I look at everything, the shoreline. I just pick it out. I make them there. I picked out 3 or 4 or 5 areas that are going to fish. I'm going to go the far. This may be a little ridge. It has a little ridge coming down through the center, goes out, and pretty peak, it drops in the water. I'm going to fish it. Because there's a water. I ain't going to map that crossing. It may make only 2 or 3 patrol passes, and I said, it cut off. It didn't go all the way. But when I got through, probably did go all the way. When I got through the map. I don't know. I'd have to come back later and check it out. And I saw a long, crooked shoreline. I'd say, well, it's pretty flat. But I better troll that thing. It's too long. It's a long thing. I better troll it because I don't know exactly what's there. I've got to see what's there. Then I come to a heavier eroded shoreline, fairly steep, not too straight up and down. And this, I said, this I know I got to go to work on. Because the key to this one is that feeder cut. There's a feeder cut that's going to go all the way. Now, I'm going to work around that with my trolling and so on, as I thought about this stuff a little bit later, to find out what's there. But actually, that gave me some. There was a wasp, and of course I got to check that out. But the real key to this thing, it should go all the way. And then I can work like this, and pretty soon, maybe after the 4th or 5th trip, if I had to, I'll start off with a map pretty quick. I'm going to show you that map in just a minute. It took me several times. And I bring up the format. It's mapping. It's your map. It's for you to read. And if you understand the map, it doesn't make any difference if the next guy, you never can't read your map. It doesn't make a bit of difference how you draw your map, just so that you can understand it. Another thing, I've been going around the lake, I watch the other fishermen, see what they're doing. I'm on a string clip. Now, this fellow is either casting in a floating milk jug, or maybe he's something under that marker. It could be that. So when he leaves, I will check that out. I see all over the country, there was a gang of boats. There must have been 15 boats there, just a one layer of fishing. And after they cleaned out, I went over there to check it out. And I didn't find nothing. The only conclusion I had was that the first guy there, his motor conked out. And I'm going to check this thing. And I'm going to go there and see if that's a floating number. It is a marker. So when you're going around, look at the other people on the lake too. Now the two basic for mapping is the boat. I like to map with a small motor and a small boat. If I had my book levels, I would do mapping on a string lake with probably a 5 horsepower and a John boat. then I wouldn't be. If I get too big, I may not be thorough enough. I may not be able to turn on the eye and look at and feel it. My Lord's talking to me. So don't you have a problem when your boat is big and when your motor is big, just be careful and aware of the fact that I gotta be very careful or I'm gonna miss something. And if you are careful, you won't miss very much. This is a tool, a basic tool for mapping. And that's our markers. They can be homemade, they can be fancier in any way you want to. Don't use just a piece of flat styrofoam. If it's flat, you'll lose it. Make it big enough so that you can see it from quite a distance. And just you can use weight and say in a jug, just put some loose lead down in there, and then when you throw it over, it sticks up in the air. I think Bob people use that. That is a basic tool for mapping and for the correct presentation of words. I wouldn't go on the lake, strange lake, unless I had at least 5 or 6. So that I could line that thing out with my effort. I felt it. After I looked at it, I would line that thing out. I would throw a marker. As I say with Terry and I, we used to do this. We didn't have contour maps. We didn't have depth sounders. We used the tools, the basic tools of controlling, and when we found a place that felt good, we threw a marker. If we caught a fish, and he was really good at one, when we were taking and contouring with trolling, and we'd get a fish, man, we knew we threw a marker up there. So the marker is so important. If you're fishing and you're trying to figure out a weed line, you better have a lot of markers. A fantastic tool, a basic tool for mapping. Contour map. This is an aid. I don't consider it as a basic tool for mapping. It's an aid. Sometimes in big waters you don't have any contour lines. Maybe some of you have never fished this, but some of you have. They can tie the bases on. You won't have anything to run into just depths. Now you say, what am I going to do with this dry spot? Very easy. You just mark, click on the map, and look at all the shallow places. There's 1 feet. I don't know, 1 foot deep. I think that's a mistake, unless it's a telegraph pole down here. This is 15 feet, this is 20 feet, this is 10 feet, and over here is the deepest water in the whole area. So I just circled it, bang, boop, and over here. This looks good, now over here is 11 feet, 44 feet, but this is 51 feet right there. Now there's your fishing, there's your backing. You've got to see what's there. And so, this is a depth sounder that was made a long time. I made that one pretty soon after World War II. It was a needle type. It's still people make this a basic tool. And as we read this material, you see, I ask this question: how long would it take a man to map his lake with just depth sounders? He looked like Santa Claus before he came out of the tree. This is a aid. It can be a good aid. It can tell you things. It can tell you where the channel is. But if you go around expecting this to do your mapping, then you're making a mistake. If you go around with your head buried in one of those drivers, you can't even see what's above the water. If the name glance at it, and to me, when you do your mapping and you get the structure situation laid out to where you can see it where it is, cut that sun gun off and go to work on those markers. Here's the point. That depth sounder doesn't have any hooks on it. And one of the things that you know that you're in the right place on the trolling procedure is when you get a fish. Now, if you go down through there looking for with a depth center, and you don't have a tool downstairs talking to you the whole time, you're not going to do it. But when you hit a fish, if he's there, he took your lure, you go a marker. I got to look this way. Oh, this is a structure situation here.
It seems to be when you're doing this around here, I'm pretty I think that's in my
Hey. Am I waving my arm too much? Okay, I'll keep this thing back here. See if you hear me.
Sorry. Well.
Okay.
It's a flash on the, you got him wired up like that.
Well, I appreciate that. So here is a basic tool for mapping. Now don't let anybody get you as a problem. I'll make a 5 lures catch a fish in 2 days. But it wouldn't do me much good if I didn't find out where to put it at the right place. This is a teaching tool right there. It's a basic mapping tool. It's a trolling rod. No, I had to make the line as a basic tool for mapping to know what's there. The line has to talk to you. The diameter of the no-go is a little bigger than a spinning line. So same pound test. Not all the stretch has been taken out. Because if I took it all out, it would pop like glass. So it's a certain amount left in there. It's talking to you. The metal line is a surgical steel that I made to hit the extra depth, and to get the extra depth for the 500, 400, 250 up to 800. Many times I have a 500 on the wire. Also, wire allows you to run short lines closer to the boat and control depth. It's very important that you do that too. So in the mapping process, this is very important in the trolling process. This meter, they'll say how that's done. I designed all the things to meter that every 30 feet. Now what that does is know how much line you got out. Very important in all convey times to know how much line you got back. You don't want to be blind. You want to know what's downstairs. And it's topography. Line is very important. This tool I made by hand before World War II. It used it'd take you a long time to design that. Oh, I visualized this thing in my mind before I cut out the first one. Now, after the fourth one, I think it's the fourth one, I had my design right. After that, all I had to do was get the proportions right. I got the final, it didn't take me long to get the proportions right on 100 wood. That's the first one I made. Now, after I got the proportions right on the 100, the rest of it didn't give me any problem. I figured the exact shape mathematically from then on. So then I'd make one, and I'd make another, and then I'd make another, and then I'd make another side. At first, I put 3 loops on 100 so I could have the depth of running a 100, a 200, and a 250. Now, every time I made a lure, another lure that could control the depth, I pull one of those off the left. Finally, I got the sizes that I wanted to control depth. It'll catch anything it swims. I'll just tell a joke. Let me tell you a little short joke. I was fishing down in Louisiana, and I went by the end of this boat here, and I caught a kelp. I made another fast back through there, and I caught a shirt. Then I made another fast through that, and I was very cautious taking this, and I pulled up a pair of pants. You know what happened next? I got the hell out of there. Now, this you don't know that pretty good. It's just one thing I don't want to bring out. Why the tools? It's very important we know why we have to have special tools. And that's what I made for this. And it's in that last thing, that last paragraph. The first part is what makes a fish tick. That last part, if you and I desire to business to catch fish, we have to control the depth of feet on and or around the bottom fish the fish use in their movements and migrations. I didn't mention anything else. I didn't mention color. I didn't mention action. I didn't mention size. I didn't mention pH. I didn't mention oxygen. None of those things. If you control the depth and speed of your lure, it takes care of all those things. You don't worry about it. It takes care of the weather. It takes care of the mood of the fish. It takes care of the depth. And that's all necessary. I could take my false teeth and put hooks on it. If I could control the depth and speed, I would murder those rascals. But if you like the car, fish it.